Hi everybody, this is Tim Hodge and I want to welcome you to the Spring Hill Public Library summer series of how to draw stories. I'll be taking you through some steps and how to draw what we call sequential art. Now, if you remember last summer, I took you through drawing various cartoon characters. And now we're going to take what we've learned back then and put them to use to tell a story. Now, I use the word sequential art. Sequential art refers to storytelling, panels or pages or just single frames that all go together to tell a story. Like each panel would almost be like a sentence in a written story. This applies to storyboards, to comic books, graphic novels, comic strips, book illustrations even, for children's picture books. So any artwork that has to be seen in sequence to tell a story. Now my background is storyboarding, working in animation. So that's what I bring to this. But the same principles apply whether you're doing storyboards or comic strips or comic books or whatever. One of the big differences is storyboards aren't the final product. When I draw a storyboard, it's just a blueprint or a roadmap for the rest of the cartoon. We draw very rough and we plan things out. If you're drawing a comic strip or a comic book, that's going to be the final image that the audience sees. So a little bit of differences here and there. But let's get started. I'm going to be drawing very lightly at first with just a regular pencil. I'm working on newsprint just because it's large and you can see it better. I generally work much smaller, or I work digitally. Our first exercise I'm going to tell you is how to draw a story, or give you an example of drawing the story with one image. How can you tell a whole story in one picture? When I start coming up with ideas, my mind goes everywhere. Sometimes it's just a little doodle. I think of something I've seen yesterday and I build on it. So today I have a little barrel in the backyard, a half barrel with some goldfish in it. So I'm thinking, I was out feeding them this morning. I was thinking, oh, goldfish. Maybe I'll draw a goldfish today. So let's start with this circle. This is going to be our goldfish. I'm going to draw just a little bit darker so you can see it. I'm going to go back over this with a marker when I get everything planned out, because I like to draw something that's erasable and I can change a lot. So let's start with this circle. And he's got a fin on top, so we have this little triangle shape here. And again, everything's real rough. We're going to go back and finalize these lines later. Okay, and he's going to have a little tail. He's going to be a fat goldfish. His whole body is going to be pretty much that circle. And just kind of this moon shape right now for his tail. He's going to be looking toward me. He's going to have these big, I'm going to give him some big eyes, kind of like ping pong balls here on the front of his face. Again, they're just circles. And notice too, while I'm drawing, I'm working from my shoulder. Even when I work small in a sketchbook, I try to use my whole arm and not just my fingers like when you're writing. This because when you draw all day, your fingers can get really tired. You can get carpal tunnel, and that can happen anyway. But just try to stave off any injuries or fatigue. Draw from your shoulder, and you find out you tend to draw better. You don't get so tense. So draw from your shoulder. Yeah. And he's got to have these big ping pong ball eyes. Little mouth here. I'm just going to leave it straight across right now. I'm not sure if he's going to be happy or sad yet because we haven't figured out our story. We just know we're going to have a goldfish. I'm drawing this pretty easy to draw a little goldfish. He's got a little triangle fin down there and one on the other side. Can you see those okay? Hope I'm drawing those dark enough. Yeah, you can see that. But instead of in a little pond, let's have him draw. Let's let him live in a goldfish bowl, a fish bowl. Because if I put him in a barrel, the wall would be around, you couldn't see him, and that way we look at him straight on him. And it's going to be a little a little fish bowl. He barely has room to turn around. All right. So again, that's a big circle. This is a lesson in drawing circles. So we've got it's got a flat top because it's got to have an opening where you can drop in the fish food, and have to have the surface of the water here. So just this little scallop shape there. All right, maybe a little shadow underneath it. But how are we going to tell a story? It's a fish in a fishbowl. Let's see, what kind of a story? I think what the story is, I didn't leave a lot of room to tell a story inside the fishbowl. So what goes on outside the fishbowl? How could that affect him? You know, just yesterday, I drew a birthday card for a friend of mine. It's one of my little favorite hobbies, is to find, you know, my friends and family and not buy birthday cards, but draw them. So let's say, what if it's this fish's birthday? Yep, let's go with that. Let's give him a little birthday cake. He's got no room inside here. Let's give him. It's going to be a little cupcake. Let's try that. Just a little. Let's draw a big cupcake. He's got. No. I got to keep it because I'm thinking of an idea for a joke. I'm going to keep the cupcake kind of smallish. I can't make it too big. And it's got this cylinder shape that tapers down at the bottom, that little cup on the bottom, and then we're breaking it down into simple shapes. We'll put some detail on it later. But we've got a little cupcake shape, like that. And of course it's a birthday cake, so it's got to have a candle. A candle is a cylinder, and like that, and it's got a little wick and this little teardrop shape for some sprinkles on the top. And I'm going to put some little scallops on the bottom here because the frosting is gooey, so it's got these little drips. Some of them are big and some are little. So we've got the birthday cake with a candle and goldfish inside his bowl. Now to finish this up, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean it up with some strong black lines because I've got an idea here to make this better. We've got a situation here. Okay, so we've got this is just a black marker so you can see it clearly. So there's our candle. I'm not letting those lines touch right here at the bottom. You see that? They're just kind of taper off. Feels a little more like a flame that way. I'll make my candle itself just a little bit fatter. Whenever you go back through and clean something up with a dark line, you can change your mind a little bit. You don't want to just trace your pencil lines, you want to come up with a better drawing. So your pencil lines are just a guideline. They're not law. So draw our frosting here to our cupcake. And make these scallops, some big, some little. It's more interesting when you mix things up a little bit like that and have things that are varied, not just perfectly geometric across and make it look like it's by a machine. Okay, draw some sprinkles up on here. It's a funfetti cupcake. And let's do our fishbowl here. Now, I drew that straight line across the top to make it feel like it's not a full circle, but I'm going to change that just a little bit. I'm going to go, after I draw this line, I'm going to draw the inside rim like that. See how it doesn't touch, but it curves back around. And you can see the opening to the fishbowl there, so you can drop in some food for him. And very slowly, very carefully, trying to make sure both these sides are even, I'll draw the outside edge of his fishbowl. There. And of course a little shadow under there makes him feel like he's sitting solid on a table. Okay, we'll draw the water here. Okay, so let's draw these eyes. Big ping pong ball eyes. Now, I'm sure you've already seen something here where I might be going with this. Get his body, don't draw in front of where that fin's going to go like that. Just simple little lines for his. I'm not going to get too detailed here. But you see the problem here? that this goldfish is having? Fire and water. He's inside behind the glass. And what do you do when you get a birthday cake? You blow out the candles. This is our story. Draw our fin up there. But they didn't think all the way through the problem there. So now we get to draw a little bit of attitude. We're going to draw his eyelids. This is a straight line right across, about halfway down on his eyes, like that. And he's going to be looking at us. Just these little half circles underneath there. And yeah, we'll draw his mouth turned just a little bit down like that. Because he's like, yeah, happy birthday to me. Draw his tail in here. Now the key to drawing cartoons is simplification and exaggeration. We've simplified his shapes. He's just circles and some triangles and things like that. And not a lot of detail. We just want to get the essence of his fishiness around. I'm going to draw a few little lines here just to indicate those ribs in his fins. Maybe some that gravel you put in the bottom of a goldfish bowl. There's some little bumpies down there like that. So now, we've got a story. One picture, one joke, and we've got a story. Now, before we go on, I have an assignment. Yes, it's a class, so I have to give an assignment. Some homework for you, but it's fun. I want you to come up with your own single panel story. Think of a situation, just an ordinary daily thing you might find yourself in, if it's reading a book or eating your lunch or playing soccer or whatever, and try to make a story out of it. One picture, can you tell a story? So that's your homework. Now let's get back to drawing. I love single panel stories. Some of my favorite artwork is this way. If you want to look up some artists who are really good at single panel cartoons, I'd look up some really old guys, some people that inspired me when I was a kid. People like Charles Addams. That's with 2 D's, and Addams did some really kind of creepy, funny stories. In fact, the Addams Family movie, the TV show that came out, they're based on his cartoons. There's Sergio Aragonés, who was very popular in Mad Magazine. Does some fantastic single-panel cartoons. The guy's just enormously hilarious and a great artist. And Norman Rockwell, great American painter and illustrator, it was just famous, made a whole career out of drawing stories with one picture. They got on the cover of dozens of magazines, and just great artwork. So those are some people that inspired me that I think could inspire you too. Okay, so I've got a clean page, and let's tell a story with more drawings. Let's take it slow. We're going to try something with 3 drawings. First of all, like I said, I'm a storyboard artist. I generally work in TV and film. In fact, I've worked on maybe some films you've seen before. I did storyboards for the Disney film Mulan, and Brother Bear, and the VeggieTales film Jonah, and the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything. I've worked on quite a few films and TV shows. Now I've drawn 3 panels here, about the same shape as a TV screen or a movie screen, because that's that's my job. I like to read, right? So let's start out with a guy reading a book. Okay? Now this is going to be what we call a medium shot. His head is going to be right here, kind of about a third over from the side. He's going to be looking down like this, and we see his shoulders like that. Maybe the back of the chair. His arm, like this. There's his nose. Yeah, I'm working really rough here, just like before. Here's the top part of his body. Now, when we say a medium shot, that's like where you're looking at me right now. This is a medium shot. It's hitting me just around my chest area and right above the head. If the camera was this close, this is a close-up. And if the camera was way back there and you could see my whole body, that's a wide shot. These are things you have to consider when you're working in storyboards. Now, where do you put the camera? Now, how do you which shot will tell the story best? So he's going to be reading a book, so his arm comes down here. He said, okay, yeah. And it's up here, just going to draw a circle for his hand right now. And there's his book. So you have this square here and this little triangle shape for the other side of it. The other arm is this way on that side. Okay, Jessica, we only see his posture right now. If you can, it's real loose. I'm gonna just draw these little eyes reading. In fact, let's make him just a little bored. The thing I like about doing 3-panel stories is it breaks down. You have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Every story's got to have those 3 things, right? So beginning, everything's fine. It's a day just like any other, the way most stories start. He's reading his book. Something's got to happen. Some sort of conflict, some trouble. He's has to hit an obstacle. Like if you just told a story about, yeah, I went to school today, I went to class, and I learned stuff, and I came home. That's not really a story. If you go to school today, and I realized I forgot my homework, or I forgot my lunch, now you've got a story, because we have to, well, what happened next? That's the key to a story. You have to make the audience ask, what happened next? So, guy's reading a story, reading a book. Same guy here. Same place. We're not going to move the camera here. I'm going to try to draw it just the same. That takes some practice to draw 2 pictures the same. And he's got his book. I'm going to make his head pop up, look up just a little bit, because I think it's something that's going to interrupt his reading. And that is, I'm going to draw this right down in front of him. A spider. Oh, I only drew 6 legs. They have 8 legs. Okay, there we go. If you can see that, I hope that's clear. Let me draw that a little bit darker. So if he's looking up at this, his eyes are going to get bigger, because this guy's scared of spiders, which you really shouldn't be. But when you see somebody that's really scared of spiders, they can act real crazy. Now, what happens next? We've got a guy. We've got an encounter with a spider. What's he going to do with this situation? Is he going to run away? Is he going to swat the spider? He could close it in his book. That would be mean. I have an extreme idea. Let's see. This is wicked. Okay, we're going to cut outside. We've got 2 shots right here. This camera that we're looking at, what the viewer sees. Just a medium shot of guy reading. The spider comes in the shot. We're going to cut outside. Outside his house. All right? And this guy, same guy's going to be standing here. Here's a circle for his head. This is going to be the back of it. He's going to be looking into the distance. Hands very calm. There's his waist. This is a wide shot because we can see his whole body. I hope you can see that. Yeah, you can see that clearly. His feet there. I'm going to have his arm coming down here. He's still going to be even holding his book right there. That's how much he loves to read. I'm going to raise his waist a little bit. Over here is a house. It's his house. He's got a front door here. And maybe some little side part over here. There we go. His garage. A house is, you can make this out of cubes. If you can draw a cube, like an ice cube or whatever, you can just put a bunch of those together and give them these roofs right there. So we have his house here. It's on fire. That's how he gets rid of a spider. He just burned his house down. Okay, now we've got a beginning, a middle, and a very dark end. Sometimes, well, I'm going to use this marker's a little bit, has a little bit of finer point. I'm going to use that on this one, but I will use, it's got a double end. This is a Prismacolor marker. It's got a fat side, fat point, and fine point. But I'm going to start off with the fat point to draw my frames here. Now when you do this, you may want to use a ruler. I've had a lot of practice drawing straight lines, even though these aren't perfectly straight. They're straight enough to get the point across. There are my 3 panels. My beginning, my middle, my end. And now let's clean these drawings up a little, put a little more detail on this guy. Okay, let's draw start with his eyes. He's serious. I got I like a big nose like that. It's easy to show the direction of someone's face. I'm not even going to put his mouth on there. We're going to keep him just expressionless. Just and get his ear, which is a little half circle here. And let's see, he needs a hairdo. I'm just going to draw the line coming up here and the squiggly line across the front. That's his hair, kind of spiky hairdo. Get his shirt coming down here, the little V-neck. He's wearing a short sleeve shirt. So I'm going to have the line that curves over his shoulder and his sleeve right there. And not close it up all the way on the other side, but it's not separate. No, he shouldn't be leaning forward a little bit, but he is. And draw his arm, starts wider up by his shoulder and gradually gets smaller. So before we were thinking purely about story, now we've got to think about art and how to draw somebody. He's holding his book, so we have his thumb coming up this way, edge of the book there. And first we'll draw just kind of like a mitten, like that. And then we can draw some lines in there for I draw that one a little too long, for his fingers. I draw his book here, draw the spine of it, draw the pages. And I'm not drawing all the pages individually, you see, I draw the whole thing as a mass. If we could draw, in fact, I'm going to draw this as a close-up down here so you can see it better. The book, have the spine like that. Cover on this side. I'm not drawing his hand here, but the pages just draw kind of a curve like that, and where they meet in the middle, and they're thicker. You know, where pages get thicker where they're near the spine, and they kind of do that curve out to the edge. Draw a couple of little indications for the pages, but you don't draw all those pieces of paper. Or if you want to draw a stack of paper like pages, you just draw the whole mass of them, and then just a couple lines to show there's some divisions. Okay, now in this panel, guy reading his book, and a thin line coming down, and a big spider. I'm going to draw 2 sections of the body, and 2 legs going up on 4, but 2 legs on each side going up, 2 legs going down on each side. Oh, that's a creepy spider. Oh. Now, we could have changed this whole ending and had him getting bitten by the spider and then turning into Spider-Man. But that's somebody else's story. Okay, let's get it. I love this expression change. His eyes go from these little bitty dots to big dots, and his eyebrows are way up here. We've got 2 changes going on from beginning to middle. Okay, his nose is now pointing out that way because his head is gone from down to up. Still, I'm not going to draw his mouth. I think we can get his expression just in his eyes. Get his ear over here, and that same spiky hairdo. Maybe a little edge over draw the front edge of his hair. His V-neck. Try to draw this shirt. I'm looking back at this drawing a lot to try to make sure I draw it as much like that as I can, because the only change I want is his expression and the spider. Now, if I were doing this digitally and drawing on my computer or my iPad, I could copy and paste and then just change the parts that change, his head and the spider. But the challenges of drawing with real pens and paper. Okay, this is beginning, middle, and now the end. We have our lonely guy sitting right here. Not a lot of action. He's standing very calm with his problem fixed. Like that. And we know it's the same guy because he's got the same spiky hairdo. Now we're showing the back of his head, so we don't see everything, but you still see part of his nose sticking out that way. And the ground plane, just draw a little bit of grass here and there. Now the house, when we draw that, make sure it comes down in front or over the grass. We don't want it just sitting on top of that line. We want it's not just it's sitting in front of it. You can see though the ground plane, the line for the grass is a little bit higher than the edge of the house. That makes the house look like it's sitting on the ground and in front of it. It gives it a little bit of perspective, right? A good little technique to know whenever you're drawing. Of course, this looks like a small house, but it's in the distance. So things get smaller as they get farther away. I almost thought about putting a chimney on it, but then like, oh, people think just the chimney's on fire like it's supposed to. You know, smoke's coming out of the chimney. This is a simple design though. Put a couple of windows here and a side room. I don't know, that's another room or the garage. Another window on it. Little pane. Oh, got the doorknob. Like that. And fire. Gotta get rid of the spider. Fire is fun to draw. It's like just squiggly lines that go to a point, and maybe some other little offshoots of flames alone up the top. So we've got our beginning, our middle, and end. Guy reading a book. La 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 la. Guy's interrupted by a spider. Ah! Guy takes care of his problem. So, if I were to give you another assignment to draw a 3-panel story, think about something like that. If you something simple that starts off, and it's a good way to start. You can be as elaborate as you want, but just to get your creative juices flowing, start with an ordinary, everyday thing that you do, whether it's reading a book or eating a bowl of cereal, or working in your garden, or if you have chickens, if you're going out to get the chicken eggs, what will be the second panel? What is the twist? And then the third twist to end it. You reach under that chicken and you find maybe not an egg, or maybe a big egg. And then what happens in the last one? Just try to play off ideas like that. That's the whole idea of storytelling, is surprising your audience and making them wonder what happens next. Let's try to draw a story that's a little bit longer now. All right, let's think of a story here. You know what I really like to do is I like to draw anthropomorphic animals. Now, anthropomorphic is a big word, I know, but that means when you give human attributes to something that's not a human. That's like when you put, when you've seen a story with animals dressed as people, and they're giving facial expressions, they're laughing, they're talking, they're anthropomorphic animals. Now, it doesn't just have to be animals. You could be like you could do it to be anthropomorphic appliances. You could have a toaster or a microwave that talks to you. But I think I like to do animals. Let's see, what kind of animal do I want to draw today? Let's have a bear. I'm going through this because I want you to see my thought process coming up with a story, because that's what we're trying to teach here. Not just try to follow my ideas and draw my stories, but I want to spur you on to spur your creative juices. Like, how can I tell a story? What inspires you? What makes you laugh? What makes you maybe a little frightened? What story do you want to tell? So I'm showing you how I come up with ideas, and maybe it'll help you come up with some of your own. But for me, today I'm going to draw a bear. And this bear will be, do I want him acting like a human or like a bear? He could be sniffing at a beehive, or catching salmon, or he could be in a suit going to work. Let's see. The salmon idea might be fun. But what if he catches something besides a salmon? I think that's an idea. Let's start with a bear here. I'm gonna draw my frames out like a TV storyboard. Just because that's what I'm used to. You don't have to draw these panel frames. This is just the way I tend to work. Because if you're drawing storyboards, yeah, you have to draw these frames because that's what the TV frame or the movie screen is shaped like, and you have to stay within it. If you're illustrating a book, well, that's a whole different thing. You don't have to worry about frames. You have the size of the page and the shape of the book. That's a limitation you have to work within. All little things you have to think about. How am I best going to tell this story? Now this is going to be trickier because we've got more drawings to use, but still we're going to have the beginning, B, and the end, E, and these three panels are going to be the middle. But generally I like to set up the beginning to be very quick. It gets people interested in the story right away, and the ending you want fairly quick too. You want to wrap it up. You know, it's like a punchline to a joke. If you drag it out too much, it bores your audience. So let's have the beginning. Let's going to have a bear fishing. Surprise! He's not fishing like a bear though. He's going to be with a fishing pole. We're going to start out with kind of a wide shot. All right, let's get the whole situation here. We're going to see his whole body here. He's got a little head on my paper. I've got a big piece of paper. His head's about the size of a quarter. This big pear-shaped body. And I'm going to have him sitting down, so his feet are going to be here. You could draw your own pet in this story. Learn how to draw cats or dogs or chickens if you have chickens, or ducks. My neighbor has ducks too. They are cute. I love to be on the yard and hear them. They're funny. Okay. Bear's got a big snout. If you think of each panel or each moment as a sentence in the story, which is what I kind of do sometimes. One day a bear was fishing. He's got to be sitting on the edge of the stream here though. There, and this is all water. And I'm not going to draw all the background with all the trees in the forest and things like that. Maybe I'll draw a few little pine trees back here. His happy little trees. Yes, I like Bob Ross. He's fishing on the curb. He's fishing on the riverbank, on the bank of the stream. Okay, and notice I'm keeping things very, very simply designed. The water, I'm just drawing as one little water like squiggle in here. I'm not trying to draw all the detail in there, just enough to communicate to my audience that's water, and they read it, they understand it right away. So the next panel, something's got to happen. This is going to be the first twist. Let's have a close-up. The audience will know from his expression something good happened, right? So let's do a close-up. We'll cut to a close-up. Get his ears here. Again, I'm just drawing this circle bigger for the bear's head and his big snout and his big bear nose. But this bottom part of his snout is going to come with this big smile, like that. His mouth's going to be open. And get trying to make sure I draw in from my shoulder, even when I have to do these details. Going to be looking down, big open eyes like that. Some fur off of here. Oh boy. So what's the next thing? What's the next thing you do when you get a bite on your string, on your line? You start reeling in and start pulling, right? So let's have him. Let's go back to some this kind of camera setup. Go back to our wide shot. Actually, let's do a medium shot. We don't need to see all the background because we know where he is. We want to see the action of him tugging on that rod and reel, his fishing pole. And I know, yes, there's a difference between a rod and reel and a fishing pole. The reel is the one you know where you can wind it back in, but a fishing pole, just the pole, is just a string on a stick. Very much simpler design. So our camera is going to be between these distances. So he's going to be a little bit smaller than this one, but that gives me a little more room for some. If I couldn't have him pulling on his fishing pole in this one, you couldn't see it as well. But let's have him leaning way back like this. He's saying, "Arr!" See the way I'm leaning back like that? That's what we're going to draw. The way I'm sitting in this frame, like just kind of that medium shot. His arm's going to be bent right here. This one's going to be like that. His fists are going to be. He's got these big arms. His fists are going to be stacked like this, and clutched around that fishing pole. And it's going to be. Right now, we're just drawing circles for his hands, his paws. But get that arch to his body. Have that shape go, his fat belly going all the way up to his neck. Just, can you see those lines like that? You want that line of action going all the way back. His nose is going to be way up in the air like this because he's pulling way back. His big bare nose up here now. His eyes are going to be scrunched. They're closed tight. Get his ears in here. Now he's going to be straining, so his teeth are going to be clenched. So we're going to draw this kind of teardrop shape for his mouth with his teeth gritted like that. We're learning about all kinds of things. Telling a story, about framing, how to do close-ups and wide shots, and composing your scene to make it the best to display your part of this part of the story. And expressions, how to draw different expressions. And now let's get this pole in here. It's like way back here. It's not even in front of him over here anymore. It's like way back behind his head. Yeah, it's got some tension on it. Let's have that fishing pole. It's got to be curved. It goes even off the screen. We know it's out here, but we're not going to, the audience won't see it. But we could show the string over here. Put some lines. It's pulling hard. Maybe even put some water splashing up. Because that fish is, whatever's on that line is just splashing around a lot. In fact, let's take a moment. I'm going to clean this up I'm going to do this in ink line so you can see where we are more clearly, okay? Let's draw our frames here. I'm also holding you in suspense. Wait, what's going to happen next? What did he catch? Is it a trout? Is it a salmon? Okay, so we have our beginning, and we're in the middle of our middle. What happens next? Before we get to the end and resolve it, let's give another little surprise, a little indication of the end. The end. If you're telling a story, one day a bear was fishing on the riverbank. He felt a tug on his line. He pulled with all his might. You'll never guess what happened. So we want that moment, that you'll never guess. We want something that tells our audience, oh, what's going to happen? So let's keep this same medium shot, but we're going to show his expression. He's not going to be pulling, he's going to be leaning, he's going to be looking forward again. Of course, anything could happen here. His fishing pole he had ripped out of his hands. He could pull up, a submarine. He could, we could go really ridiculous. Now, if you're doing this with me, and if you come up with a different ending, please, feel free. But when you're learning how to build a story out of just pictures, you start looking more critically when you're reading comic books or comic strips or graphic novels. You're looking at the images and kind of analyzing, how did they tell the story? Why did the artist choose a close-up? Why did they choose this angle? Maybe a down shot looking down on an object, or an up shot to make a character look big and strong in the frame. So that's part of your education here, is not just learning how I do it, but to pay attention and see how other people do it. Learn from everybody you read. And yes, I consider looking at comic strips and graphic novels reading. You can read pictures too. Okay, guy, he's looking down. Should he see where he's going to hold his fishing pole? Is it going to be in the frame or out of the frame? What makes a better image here? I'm going to not draw it in right now. I might change my mind. But now we've got our surprise ending, because we're going to have a twist ending on it. We're going to take an old joke. He's going to raise his hands up here. He's holding onto his fishing pole, like a little bit of an angle, because it'll go up here, and then we'll see the fishing line here. And just have an old boot. And now we'll use this final frame to add an extra little twist. We're going to go back to a wide shot like we opened up with. Our bear over here. Same position here. He's still holding his... I'm going to have to cheat this and make the riverbank a little bit longer. He scooted back while he was pulling. So, we see that. He caught a person still wearing the boot. I know it's not terribly funny. Please think of a funnier joke. We have this guy sitting like another fisherman. And I need to draw this more like, I need to draw my boot like this, going off screen. So if you're reading this the first time, let me get an eraser. And you can always change your mind with one. You're going to have the boot come in. It's going to be not hanging from the rim of the boot. It's going to be caught. This hook is going to be caught in the laces here like this. So we have the boot hanging sideways. We'll see the bottom of it here, and the heel. Yeah, his string comes down. The hook is going to be right there in the laces. But then when we pull out wide, he's caught another fisherman. He's hanging upside down. He's still holding on to his fishing pole. There, we will clean him up. Is he wearing a baseball hat? Yeah, people like to wear baseball hats when they fish, right? I love fishing. I really stink at it, but it's fun. Okay, now let's clean up the last two drawings. he was doing before this, so I don't have to explain over here, oh, there are other people fishing when we see the punchline, because that would give away the end, right? So we go over here and we can draw his hand, and we realize we draw his rod and reel, and he was fishing too. And it fills in more of the story, a little bit of a surprise for our audience. So there we have a story and five images, 5 panels, 5 visual sentences, if you will. 5 simple sentences, 5 images that tell a story. We have the beginning, a setup. We have a little twist, what happens? We have progressive complications, what's going on? And then a punchline at the end, a resolution, the end of the story. So I hope you've had fun. I hope this spurs some ideas for you. I hope you get in your sketchbook and you start working out stories. How can I tell a story in pictures? So thanks for joining me. Come back for part 2. We're going to expand on this and draw a more detailed story with even more panels. I hope you enjoyed it, and come back and see us again. See you later.